Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Restu Fitrahadi Syukri and I am from 3C class. Right now I will read a poem with the title The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over a many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. This some visitor, I murmured, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly, I remember it was in the black December, and each pirate, dying ember, rooked its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books secrets a sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angel named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertainly rustling of its purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terror never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor is treading and treads at my chamber door, some late visitor and treading and treads at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently, my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or Madame, truly your forgiveness I implore." But the fact is, I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scared was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wandering, weary, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was broken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word Lenore. This I whispered, and echo murmured back to the word Lenore, merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul with me, burning. Soon again, I heard tapping somewhere louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely there is something at my window latch. Let me see. Then, what there is, and this my mystery explore. Let my heart this little moment and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Often here I flung the shutter, when, with many a fear and flutter, in the steep and stately raven of the saintly days of yore, not the least of saints made he, not a minute stop or stayed he, but, with mien of lord or red lady, pressed about my chamber door, pressed upon the bust of palace just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this bonny bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the contest it wore, through my disgrace, besorn and shaven door, I said, "Art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvel at this ungainly foe to hear discourse so plainly, through its essential, little meaning, little repentance bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird about his chamber door, beer or beast upon the sculpture bust about his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting alone the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour, nothing farther than he uttered, not further than he pluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered. Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes had flown before. Then the birds say, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by the reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what is uterus is only stock and store caught from some unhappy monster from unmerciful disaster, follow it fast and follow it faster, till his song and one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But you raven, still begging all my fancy into smiling. Straight I will a cushioned seat in front of my bier, and burst on the door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking that this omnis bier of yore, what this great ungainly ghastly, call an omnis bier of yore, mean and croaking nevermore. Did I sat in getting, in gazing, but no syllable expressing to the foe whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom core. This, and more I sat diving in, with my head at the eastward sliding, on the cushion, velvet lining, that the lamb-like clothed tore, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamb-like gloating lower, she shall press, nevermore. The method, the air group dancer, perfumer from an unseen cancer, swung by serving was full till on the tottered floor. Wretch, I cried, the God had lent thee, by this angel he had sent thee. Respite, respite and repented from die to murmurs of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this carnality, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird of devil, whether tempted sin, or whenever tempted tossed thee here ashore, this late yet all the undoubted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, think of evil, prophet still, if bird of devil, by the heaven that banners above us, by the God we both adore, till this soul with sorrow laden if, within a distance, Aden, it shall clasp a saint maiden from the angel named Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angel named Lenore, quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird of fine, I shrink up starting, get back into the tempest and the night Plutonian shore, lap no black pearl as a token of that lie die, so that spoken. Let my loneliness unbroken, quit the buzz about my door, take thy beg from out of my heart, and take thy from of my door, quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never feeding, still is sitting on the velvet bust of ballast, just about my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of demons that is dreaming, and the lamplight of him streaming through his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out the shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Okay, the next one is I will explain and analyze the elements that are included in the Raven poem. The first one is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of words into which the word is included in an object or an action that cannot be applied literally. The example in the poem, the raven and his eyes have all the seemings of a demon that is dreaming. The word describes the meaning in which the eyes that looks like the demon's eyes is dreaming. So clearly, the meaning of the word describe and explain meaning of the word describes and explain the meaning of the word itself. Okay, the next one is simile. A simile is a figurative language in which something is compared to something else using the word like or as. For example, in the Raven is on the line, "On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." The poem compares the man's hopes to the bird flight, saying that his hope will soon fly away, much as the bird will. Okay, the next one is personification. Personification is a figure of speech in which either an inanimate object or an abstract concept is discussed as if something being discussed was gifted with life or given human feelings. The example in The Raven is in the second stanza when the narrator describes the ember in the fire as projecting their ghosts upon the floor. Of course, the embers are inanimate. They do not have soul, so they cannot have cause, but it's the literal view of the word's meaning. The next example is the curtain. In the poem, Poe makes the curtain feel sadness, and accordingly, these are traits usually associated with the human. Okay, the next one is apostrophe. Apostrophe is used in literature to allow a character to speak to an object, abstract idea, absent person, or someone who doesn't really exist as if it's living. In The Raven, the poet speaks to the visiting raven through the raven is present in the poem and does repeatedly respond with the word nevermore. The raven in this instance functions more as an abstraction or symbol than a literal bird, with power of awareness and understanding of human speech. The next one is allusion. Allusion is a figure of speech in the term of reference to a place, person, or event which is considered general knowledge and easily understood by many people. In the poem The Raven, the example of allusion is on perched upon a bust of Pallas, refers to a pledge called Pallas. Pallas itself is the name of a pledge given by the ancient Greek goddess of Athens. The next one is hyperbole. Hyperbole is a figure of speech in the form of exaggerated statement or the fact that the possibility is very exaggerated. The example on the raven is rare and radiant maiden. The word gives an exaggerated meaning to a rare girl, and the aura that appears in the girl is like a shining like an angel. The next one is oxymoron. An oxymoron is a figure of speech that juxtaposes concepts with opposite meanings within a word or phrase that create an ostensible self-contradiction. In the poem The Raven, the poet decided to use the oxymoron to describe the main character's feeling of desperation for his lover to come back to him. His lover, Lenore, had been lost, and the main character was feeling this loss at the time. When the bird tapped on his window, the main character felt terror, but the loss of his lover was still fresh wound. He felt a small glimmer of hope in the tapping, thinking that he would be able to find answer whoever was tapping. The next one is metonymy. Figure of speech in which the name of an object or concept is replaced with a word closely related or suggested by the original. The example in The Raven is we can find it in the stanza 11. "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters, it's only stop and store." Stop and store here replace the word nevermore, the only thing that the raven can speak. The next one is synecdoche. Synecdoche is a figure of speech in which a term of part of something is used to refer to the whole or vice versa. The example in The Raven is the word darkness there in stanza 4. Darkness interpreted the whole thing that the writer sees is nothing, only the dark of night. But it doesn't mean that he sees the darkness only. This can be cause of frightening of the writer, so he does nothing aside her. Next one is symbolism. Symbolism is a literary device that uses symbol, but the word, people, marks, location, or abstract ideas to represent something beyond the literal meaning. There are some examples of symbolism in the poem The Raven. first is Lenore. Lenore in the Raven represented idealized love, beauty, truth, or hope in the better world. The next example of symbolism is the Raven. The Raven represented evil and death. The Raven is also a symbol of narrator's grief as well as the wisdom that the narrator gains throughout their exchange. The next example, Nepenthe. An ancient drug used to help one relieve sorrow is symbolized the narrator that desperately searches for something that will remove his pain and suffering. And the last symbolism is onomatopoeia. The next figure of speech is rhyme. The rhyme theme in Edgar Allan's poem The Raven is significantly because the poem has a unique pattern of end rhyme and internal rhymes, creating the atmosphere and the tension in the poem. Most lines in The Raven use trochaic octameter, which is a metrical meter like 16 syllables that follow a specific pattern of a stressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. There is some rhyme on The Raven. First is end rhyme. In each stanza in The Raven, the end rhyme of the first line and the third line alternate, while the second line, fourth line, fifth line, and the sixth line are always B. For example, the rhyme theme in the first stanza in The Raven is A B C B B B, with the B rhyme always being an or sound at the end of the line, such as night, Plutonian shore, omnious bird of yore, bosom's core, stately raven of the saintly days of yore. And then there is an internal rhyme. Internal rhyme meaning the rhyme is located with the line instead of at the end. For example, in line 1, dreary rhymes with weary, and in the line 3, napping rhymes with the tapping and rapping as well. The internal rhymes jump out the listener reader and create tension in each stanza. The next one is the feast of repetition. Repetition is a literary device that involves using the same word or phrase over and over again, a piece of writing of speech. There is some sort of repetition device that was included in The Raven. The first is assonance. In the assonance, there is a weak and weary. The poet used EA in combination in weak and weary in which assonance. And then alliteration. Alliteration in the Raven is, for example, follow it fast and follow it faster till his song burden bore. In the sentence, there is a repetition of the first consonant word, which is a letter F. And then refrain. Refrain in The Raven is in the line with rest, nothing more, or nevermore. And quote The Raven, nevermore. And then the theme. The theme of The Raven is that The Raven explores that in its physical, supernatural, and metaphorical manifestation. The narrator mourns the physical death of his beloved Lenore. He talks about other friends who have died, and he contemplates his own death. The Raven symbolically represents the personification of death itself and serves as a reminder of what the narrator has lost and his impending fate. The entire poem explores metaphorical deaths of hope and descends into melancholy that this death causes. The last one is tone. The tone of The Raven is dark and melancholy. The Raven uses words such as bleak, haunted, ghastly, grim to create an atmosphere, despondency, and sadness. The words and tone become increasingly dejected and intense as the narrator descends into misery, underscoring the evolutions of narrators through thought and feelings. I think that's all my explanation and analysis from the Raven poems. Thank you for watching. Assalamu'alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.